What if your healing didn't feel like a performance, but like a conversation? I'm Elise, an author, trauma advocate, and a woman who has lived through self-sabotage, silence, and survival. If you're ready to stop abandoning yourself and start reclaiming your voice, pull up a chair. This is where hard truths are held gently. This is where survival becomes sovereignty. This is Talks with Friends. Hey friends, and welcome back to episode 4, Spirituality After Trauma. This episode, I'm going to put a disclaimer. I know a lot of us are having some really stressful times right now. There's a lot going on in the collective, but there's also a lot going on in the world. So we're just going to invite you, before we even start this episode, we're going to do some Reiki. So go ahead and you can nod or you can say out loud, I accept. And I want you to imagine this beautiful Reiki energy coming down through your crown chakra to your third eye, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, your sacral chakra, and lastly, your root. Now, the reason why I did this backwards instead of starting at the root chakra is because a lot of the times everything is very mental, and the crown chakra and the third eye are the most mental of all of the chakras. And I know things are a little overwhelming, so this episode is going to help you to not lose yourself. So if you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let me know where you're watching from, and let's begin. So welcome back to Talks with Friends. I am Elise, your host, and in this episode, we talk about how the body holds on to trauma and how healing requires us to reconnect with ourselves physically and mentally. Today, we're going to talk about something many trauma survivors are drawn to, spirituality. But we're going to talk about it honestly, and not the aesthetic version, not the perfectly curated version you see everywhere on social media. I'm talking about spirituality after trauma. And this process is temperamental and it can bring up a lot of emotions. And I want to remind you, how you engage with it without losing yourself in the process says a lot about you. And I really want to commend your effort. I know a lot of you guys have experienced symptoms of stress and fear and anger and worry and grief and sadness. And some of you guys are going through things that maybe you don't even want to talk about. And trauma survivors are drawn to spirituality because many of us who have experienced trauma, as myself, who have been through immense amount of trauma, we feel this deep pull towards something greater, something more meaningful, something that helps us make sense of what we've been through. And for those of you guys that have been through immense amount of abuse or physical abuse or emotional abuse, spirituality can offer a few things. Spirituality can offer comfort, connection, purpose, and most importantly, hope. And those are really powerful things. So I just want to take a moment here to pause. You're probably feeling the effects of Reiki, and if not, you might not feel it for a couple days. Please make sure you guys drink plenty of water. Remember that when our world has felt chaotic or unsafe, spirituality can feel like a place to land. And there's something that needs to be said about this, because I feel like sometimes we kind of glaze the subject, but spirituality is so sacred, and you are literally the doorway between heaven and earth. You are the vessel. You are here. All of you are putting in your work, no matter if it's like a divine, crazy purpose or if it's just being a mom. When the world has felt chaotic or unsafe, spirituality can really be that safe place for us to land. And a soft landing is exactly what a lot of us need right now. So here's where we need to be careful. So the same sensitivity that makes you intuitive can also make you vulnerable. And when we're vulnerable, sometimes we can operate out of fear. and shut down. So when spirituality becomes an escape, this is what you need to pay attention to. This is where spirituality becomes toxic. Now, spirituality is meant to connect you to yourself. And sometimes it becomes a way to avoid yourself. And this is what people often call spiritual bypassing, sickness. It can look very differently for a lot of people. So telling yourself everything happens for a reason instead of processing the pain is avoidance. Avoiding anger because it feels low vibrational. Embrace your rage. Divine feminines, you are naturally dark. So instead of forcing positivity when you're hurting, this is what I call toxic positivity. When we try to force the positivity instead of being, authentic with the fact that we are hurting. So dismissing your body's signals there's a name for that. And when you're dismissing it and you're not paying attention to it, it's hard to feel in alignment. So think about this. There's nothing wrong with seeking peace, but real peace does not require you to abandon your truth. It doesn't require you to adhere to some practice, purpose, belief, ideology because someone said it's the way. Your spirituality is sacred. So however you choose to align with your faith, that is completely up to you, you guys. Okay? Very important. Discernment is healing. And one of the most important skills we can develop, especially as a trauma survivor, is discernment. Discernment means you can feel deeply, but you can also evaluate clearly. I always say you can still be of service without being a disservice to yourself. Not every spiritual place is safe, and I had to learn this the hard way. I was bullied and gang stalked for years, and it was very difficult to navigate the space because I thought that I was being supported, but I was actually being set up. So not every teacher is grounded and not every message is meant for you. That's another important thing, especially if you guys watch tarot or oracle or you've worked with me and you worked with other people who are spiritual. It's very important. Not every message is meant for you. When you were constantly stuck in your mental space, sometimes we can get into what's known as a spiritual psychosis. And if you've ever experienced trauma, you may already had a pattern of that, where you're over trusting, over giving, or you're looking outside of yourself for guidance. And I tell you the messages you need, not what you want. I also remind you to think for yourself, speak for yourself, advocate for yourself, love yourself, trust yourself, and most importantly, know yourself. So spirituality must be approached with awareness, self-awareness, self-confidence, self-love. There's your clarity. You don't need to give your power away to heal. This is another misconception along my pathway with healing and journeying, is just knowing your intuition versus your trauma response. And this is something a lot of people really struggle with. Me personally, a lot of clients I've worked with, it's how do I know if it's my intuition or my trauma? And a clear sign for that is your intuition is grounded. It feels clear. It doesn't rush you. Now, trauma, on the other hand, it feels really urgent and it feels like you have to decide like right now and you need to prove something. You're about to lose something. And remember, anything that you lose or anything that falls away from you, it was divine protection, divine redirection. So your body will tell you, intuition feels steady and trauma feels reactive. So you'll be more calm. You'll be more collected. You'll be assured. Okay. Now, reclaiming your spirituality in a safe way. I get a lot of questions about this. Spirituality doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to look like everyone else's practice. It can be simple as breathing deeply, sitting in silence, reconnecting with nature, listening to your inner voice. And the most important part is this. Your spirituality should bring you back to yourself, not further away. It should increase your sense of safety, not diminish it. It should support your nervous system and not overwhelm it. Now, you are allowed to question. And there's a lot of messaging in spiritual spaces that say, just trust, just surrender, just believe. Now, trusting can be powerful, but blind trust is not healing. Okay? You are allowed to question. You're allowed to pause, and you're allowed to say, this doesn't feel right for me. Now, this is not resistance. This is self-trust. And when you learn to trust yourself, know yourself, love yourself, it'll get easier with time. Now, grounded spirituality. So for me, spirituality is not about escaping reality. It's about being fully present in it. It's about feeling your emotions, honoring your body, using your voice, holding boundaries. And for any of you out there that are refined people pleasers and are trying to learn how to navigate transcending trauma to embrace your spirituality, which, by the way, is our focus in our sisterhood. Shout out to all of my sea stars that have joined. I love you. I'm so excited to build a space for us. And that's it. Like, spirituality becomes powerful when it's integrated, not when it's just a surface level thing. Now, something you should practice, maybe something that you really should take into consideration, is what I just spoke about, which is feeling your emotions, not just avoiding them, honoring your body, not just saying, oh, this doesn't feel good. Oh, I'm going to deal with that later. Use your voice, take an initiative. It's important that we hold our boundaries, because sometimes those boundaries that you've now learned to put into practice and are integrating helps you keep that level of self-trust, because it's very easy to blur the lines. Okay. So if you've ever felt pulled towards spirituality, but also felt confused, overwhelmed, or disconnected along the way, please know that you're not alone, and you don't have to abandon yourself to grow. You don't have to silence your emotions to be healed, and you don't have to follow someone else's path to find your own. Your healing is allowed to be grounded. Your spirituality is allowed to be safe, and your truth is allowed to evolve. Okay? So take a deep breath. You guys did amazing. In this next episode, on our 5th episode of the podcast coming up, we're going to be talking about something that often surpasses or surfaces when we stop bypassing grief, rage, and the emotions we were never allowed to feel. So, this was Talk with Friends. I am Elise, and I'll see you guys next time. Love you.